let's start with the latest news. Came out today as we record the podcast Thursday that Jake Spavital will be Baylor's new offensive coordinator. Jake is a guy that Keff is familiar with as the former Texas State head coach, spent 4 years as the Bobcats head coach, and then was fired after the 2022 season. Went to Cal as their offensive coordinator, which is where he's been this season, and now will be Dave Aranda's third offensive coordinator in 5 seasons. So what's the likelihood that this one sticks in y'all's mind, and what can we expect from a Spavital offense? Keff, I mean, what should Baylor fans come to expect here?
Yeah, well, he when he came into Texas State in 2018, he was billed very much as this high-powered offense, spread offense, coming from the Mike Leach tree, not necessarily from Mike Leach, but Dana Holgorsen and others that are in that area. And so that's what Texas State fans were expecting a lot of when he got there, a lot of that spread, fast offense. And it would show flashes of that, but it was really more conservative than things you would see at West Virginia or his first stint at Cal or at A&M. And I think a lot of that had to do with caliber of players too that he would get in there. He had dealt with a plethora of NFL quarterbacks, and I mean that's a testament to him as well, recruiting those players and developing them and everything. But he had a lot of the talent to uplift a lot of those stats. And so it was kind of the same deal you just said with Dave Aranda, his third offensive coordinator in 5 years. That was kind of Spav's tenure at Texas State, where he cycled through offensive coordinators. He started out with Bob Stitt his first year, and they ended up averaging, I think it was 18 points a game that first season with Bob Stitt in there. And if you don't know who Bob Stitt is, he's kind of he's known for pioneering the jet sweep at the Colorado School of Mines way back in like 2010, around that time. So he had Bob Stitt had a pretty big reputation. Came in 1 year and was let go, and I know that was pretty contentious when it happened. Then he brings in Jacob Peeler to be the offensive coordinator, but Peeler's not calling plays. Peeler was here for 2 years, great recruiter, brought in a lot of terrific receivers. Now he's the receiver coach at Mizzou, but he wasn't able to call the plays. That's why he ended up leaving Texas State to go be the receivers coach somewhere else, because Spav always called the plays. And when it was his turn to call the plays his final year, 2022, because he didn't bring in offense coordinators last year. He was the offense coordinator, and he, like I say, call the plays when it was his job to run the offense. It wasn't what everybody was expecting. Again, it wasn't really the spread offense. It was a very conservative look, a lot of screens, a lot of 5-yard passes and everything. But he went to Cal and he got a little bit of that back. It didn't blow the doors off of anybody, but they did improve from what Cal was last year to this year a little bit. So he still has that in him. He's still a really good coach. And even when he was let go here, I felt it was time for that to happen. But I said at the time, he's going to go on and be a really good offense coordinator somewhere, because that's what he was before. And he's still really young. And I think he specifically chose Baylor. He wasn't like let go from Cal as far as I know that with that situation. And I know he liked Texas, specifically Central Texas. So it didn't surprise me that he's back at Baylor. So I think it's actually a pretty cool hire for the Bears. It's a good way for him to get back in and reassert himself in an area where it had a bad look in the Central Texas area. I know Waco's pretty far from San Marcos, but close vicinity enough where he can kind of get back into this area and reassert himself. And he's trying to prove himself just the way Dave Aranda is trying to prove himself with people are assuming one last season with it. So even though it didn't work out here, I think it's actually a pretty good fit for Baylor and for Jake Spavital.
Before you chime in, so I just have to remark on one thing that Keff said, which was calling him Spav. I like that, by the way. It's like Sarkeesian at Texas. I mean, you don't want to say the whole mouthful. You just want to call him Sark. So that's better for headlines. Spav. We're gonna steal that for sure.
Oh, do it. I definitely did not coin it. That was inherited in San Marcos from his other stops. He goes by, like, people call him Spav. Like, it's not just like a thing that
Right.
that people say in the media or anything. Like he legit
That's
goes
his
by it.
nickname. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and he's a great guy. You'll have fun interviewing him and everything. He's a really good interview. Even when times were really tough in press conferences and everything, he was always very professional. His opening remarks were always like 5 minutes minimum. You know, he was really
okay.
really good talker. Will always give you a good quote for sure.
Okay, cool. Zach, I mean, Baylor wanted someone with head coaching experience to be their new OC. So, I mean, what do you think? I mean, is this a good fit?
I mean, on paper, it seems like a perfect fit. I mean, I think that Jeff Grimes' offense, for as good as it could be, it never, this is the chance for Baylor to kind of open things up and kind of let the offense of the future, so to speak, come in and really make it fun to be at McLean Stadium. And I think that Spavital gives them that opportunity to do that, just that. And I'm really curious to see how much of a head coach role he takes over, because we know that Dave Aranda is going to take over more of the defensive play calling. So just how big a piece is he going to be, kind of as a second head coach, really, on that sideline on the offensive side of the ball. So I think it's a really good hire. I think, like Keff said, he fits Baylor. He fits kind of where the direction that they want to go, and kind of some of the pieces. I can look at his California team and kind of say, all right, this guy looks like Dom Richardson, and this guy looks like, so I can see what they're thinking with the pieces they already have, and probably some pieces that they want to bring in. So I think it's a good hire, and I think it's going to serve Baylor and Dave Aranda really well.
Yeah, and of course they wanted to get it done quickly, and they did. I mean, the transfer portal opens Monday? Is that right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think you want to have a guy in here so that if you are a quarterback or a receiver or running back or whatever, you can say, okay, now I know who I'm going to be working for, so to speak, and what kind of schemes that he might be running and all that kind of thing.